Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Random Crafty Acts, or welcome to Random Crafty Acts. If you haven't been here before, my name is Barb, and I am a rather obsessive card maker. And my specialty here on YouTube is helping beginning card makers find joy by demonstrating basic techniques. This is the weekly sketch for freshly made sketches, which you'll find a link for in the description below. This is one of the sketches and the weekly aspect of it that I discovered when I went over onto Pinterest looking for card sketches. They come out with one every Wednesday, and there is a way to enter their challenge or whatever, and I don't know that there's prizes involved, but if you decide that that's something you want to do, I'm going to show you where you can look on their page. So this is on a blog spot, which is what we had before we had YouTube and Facebook. Okay, we had blogs. So freshlymadesketches.blogspot.com is where you would find this sketch, which is number 703. Okay, that's the one the one under that is what we're gonna mark on as we work. If you look down on that page, and the print here is not such that you would necessarily want to do a screenshot unless you can do it and blow it up. But when you get down on the page, there's a few simple rules, and then right underneath that says click here to enter, and it will walk you through the steps of how to post your picture of what you did with the current sketch. Okay. All right, one of the things about this particular set of sketches is they do not include measurements. So I've done quite a bit of work going into this one, but I'm going to show you how I went about it. This is my centering. I got this, I think I got it on Amazon. It's by Westcott. And see, the 0 is in the middle to make it a little easier for me. So here we're not quite at 4 1/4, but this is, and these are for A2 cards, which are, just to be sure, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I get mine by taking an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper and laying it landscape-wise in my cutter and cutting it 5 1/2. And then I can fold them in half, and I get 2 cards out of each sheet. Okay, and so I measured these out, this box out, to make it a little easier for us. All right. So then the next challenge here is what you want to do about the arch. Now, you don't have to use an arch, and they make that clear as they present this to you. But I knew I had a couple of arch type things someplace. So when I look at the way they have this here, that is about 3 1/4. Okay, and the height is a little over 4 1/4. And I'm looking here because I am not math oriented. I might go 3/8. Okay. And I wouldn't be too much of a stickler about that. It looks like the inside edge is right at 4, just like the inside is right at 3. Okay, so in here is 3 by 4. Okay. And then that looks kind of like a 2-inch. That's an 1.5 inches, 1 3/4. Okay. Diameter. Okay. And then they do the sentiment at 2-inch strip. And that is 1/4. Okay. Now, if you've watched me, you know that normally at this point, what I would do would be I usually put a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm working on my fall cards. I do a series of Happy Spring, Happy Summer, Happy Fall cards. Okay, so this was the sample card that I started with. And let me find just a random piece of paper to put behind there so you can see. Okay. And what I am working with, I have very few arch kinds of things, and the one that was really pretty was too big and the other one was too small, you know, just like Goldilocks. And so this is from the die set that I used one Christmas. I'll pull this out for you just and lay it here so you can see. I think I got it. I think it's a Sizzix. I made 70 cards. And if you look at all these lots of little bitsy bits that you have to cut in order to create this absolutely gorgeous, yeah, it is a Sizzix thin set. I don't even know you can even get this one anymore. Yeah, I made 70 cards, and I had a die cutting machine. I had my Big Shot, and I got a silhouette right after that, because I thought, I sat and I cranked these pieces for what felt like days and days and days to get enough to build a set, and they were beautiful cards, absolutely beautiful cards. Okay, so what I've done then for this card is come up with the idea that I'm going to take this, which is Astro Bright parchment. I get mine on Amazon. I've seen it at Walmart. Okay. If I use the solid arch piece and cut it this way, what happens is I get this. I didn't realize that the first time I cut it. I'd forgotten. Okay, so if I use this, then what I end up with is this cutout. Okay. If I do the cutout, then I can take these 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 pieces, and it's going to take a lot of very careful placement, and I'm going to put those on these using this parchment and put this in behind. And then I cut out a bunch of these little birds, and I cut them in red because I'm in Illinois and we have a lot of cardinals. Okay, and then I cut the little rabbits, and I'm going to put the rabbit down here. And then I still have some of these Happy Fall sentiments, and I'm going to have to cut those down to put those on the front of here, down here, which won't be a problem. Okay, so let's start into this. And this is one of those, this is way fussier. See, I've already cut all my little bits, and I've got them in this, especially to put these in so I don't lose that. So this is way fussier than I normally do for these card sketches, but we're gonna go for that anyway. So I have 4 of these. I've got these over here. Set these out of the way, and I'm gonna show you how I cut one of these. Okay, and then pause the video and cut the others. All right, so let's get my Big Shot in this frame here. All right, this is the front of the card. My mat is starting to get warped. When your magic mat gets warped, honest, it works. You take a heat gun or a hair dryer and you run it over it until it gets hot or warm. And then I put this together and set this thing on top of it, and it flattens back out. When I read that the first time, I didn't think that was real. I thought that was a come on, but it turned out to be correct. Okay, let's get this lined up here. So the center of the card is 4 1/4, so I want this at 2 1/8. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put a pencil mark because remember we're going to cut this hole out. Okay. And then this is 5 1/2, so I want this at center at 5 1/2. I want a little bit of space at the bottom. And yes, I'm being much fussier than usual. Okay, so that's 1 inch on that side. And that's 1/4 of an inch. 1/2 inch. Okay. And this is referred to as mint tape. I don't know where I got it. I'm pretty sure it's a scrapbook.com thing. And I probably got it free because normally what I use is the yellow low-tack tape that my husband has in his workspace. Okay, and I'm going to stick that down there so it stays on my card. And notice that I already have my sandwich in place so it doesn't okay, I think we're good. We'll go for it. All right, now I'm going to crank this back and forth a couple of times because those edges of the trees don't like to come out of this die. And I don't know whether it's because the die is getting older or it depends on what paper I'm using. But that is one of the things that happens with okay, and there's how it looks on the back. And there, see there's an edge right there that didn't cut through. All right, so I want to ease this out. Oh, that's the tape. That's the tape, Barb. Make sure you remove the tape so that it will come undone. And then once you get the tape off, just stick it on the top of your machine because it's still got sticky on it. Okay, so in this particular die, that comes out. Now, you can buy, they call them pokey tools or whatever. I just use a straight pin. Okay, so then that comes out. That piece comes out. This piece comes out. All right, this piece comes out. And that piece doesn't feel like it wants to come out. So I very seldom use this. I have seen someone who doesn't have one of the cutters or the rotary or anything, and she does all of her work with a crafting knife. I admire her greatly, even though I can't remember her name. Okay. That's my air conditioner. I mentioned I'm in Illinois. I'm in southern Illinois, and we went through a stretch where we were under what was referred to as the heat dome. And then we had this absolutely incredible stretch of weather where it was almost cold in the morning, almost. And around here we call it fake fall. And then and now it's heating back up. It's supposed to be back up in the triple digits this afternoon. And then I go ahead and clean this out now because otherwise I'm trying to get it to cut and can't figure out why it won't. Right, so I think what we're going to do is make one of these all the way through. And then I have a scraper that I just scrape all these scraps, and I go ahead and get rid of those now. Okay. Set this out of the way. Okay, so the next, because that is what we need to do when we're going to need it right away. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this way. Okay, and you'll see that once I do this, there's something else I have to do on the inside of the card. Okay, and I just slide this around until all of the pieces are covered. All right, now I still use wet glue. This is one of those times where the double-sided tape might work really well. But I'm going to put this, and remember that we don't want ink. It is not ink, it is glue. It is my thing for what, all right, so we don't want glue in here, right? Well, maybe we do. Yes, we do. So we can put the glue here. As you can see, it's been a hot minute since I've done this. Okay, and then we want this to cover there. Okay, and then as we are finishing these cards up, meaning as I am like figuring out what the inside of my fall cards are going to be. For my summer cards, I took pictures of my of the garden. Oh, look how pretty that looks. Okay, so we do want to glue all of this down. So it would probably be easiest to glue this when you have it flat on the inside. Okay. All right, so we have that. We're going to take our reversible tweezers. See, when you're not touching them, they're closed. When you squeeze them, they're open. So it makes it very easy to deal with little fussy bits like this. Okay, so I think I want the first cardinal here. As if it's coming off of that branch. And I'll get some more glue down in there. And then, since it's the same color paper, I can just like flip this over. It looks a little bit different from this side, but not enough that the people I send these cards are going to be so amazed at them that they're not going to notice that. Okay, and then we put that here. Okay, and then the bunny rabbit I'm going to put on the sign, on the sentiment. Okay, so let's cut the sentiment down. You can find them. There they are. Okay, so line this up here. I just want to cut a little bit at the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to use my Post-it note trick, where I put the Post-it note here so that I've got something to hang on to and underneath here while I'm lining this up. Okay, all right, that worked pretty well. All right, and this is going to go here, and so that we have some dimension, we're going to use our brown dauber, and this is Vintage Photo, which is my favorite color to use for this. Now, you could also color the trees, which is something I didn't think about. So I'll show you how I'll do that. And I think maybe I'm going to go ahead and enter these. When I was looking down through the site, oh yeah, that's really pretty. Okay, let's set this over here, and I'm going to get that tiny little blending brush that you've seen me use before. I don't know where I got these. And let's see if we can kind of color in the trees. I don't know how I would do that. I think if I could do it before I glued it on the card, I could use a blending brush. It's just I wouldn't want to get the brown all over the front. So that would be, even as it is here, a little bit of a challenge. See, notice how I put that down and now I've got like a dark spot there, but trees are like that. And if I had done this before I put the birds on, I would have put a bird there. Okay, wow, I really like that. You know, you may be amazed that I'm kind of surprised at how that looks, but you know, I often don't know exactly how it's going to turn out until I think the rabbit looks better a little darker brown. And then he has an eyeball, so where's my tiny one? And you just take a pen and dab that in there. And if I could find my white pen, you could put a little white dot in the center. Okay, so we're going to glue this on the front, and then I'll show you part of what I will do on the inside of the card. So put that there. Pick up my bunny. These are what my rabbits here look like. And we have deer all over our yard. I mean, it would make sense to have deer in there too. Put the little bunny there. Okay. And let me see if I've got a I'm not sure what size this is, but I'm not going to glue it down just yet. But yeah, so I'll cut a 4 by 5 1/4 and put here. Now I can write on here, but if I take pictures out in the yard, we had some black swallowtail butterflies who cocooned in our yard, and I've got pictures of them, and so I will probably take pictures of those and glue those on the inside with a little note about that, and then some kind of a happy fall sentiment. Okay. So the outside is kind of plain. This is paper that I think maybe I got it at Hobby Lobby. I'm not entirely sure. I have a massive stash of paper of various sizes, and because I started out with this specializing in buying craft supplies. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause the video and work on a couple more cards and see if they come out any different, and I'll be back. Okay, this is a video that's going to get pieced together because of the amount of time it's taking me to, so it took a long time to get 3 of these cut out. So this is what it looks like when I do this with the blending brush. And see, I just take actually it's that scrap that came out of here. Okay, and if a little of it gets on the outside, it's really not going to be that big a deal. In fact, I even looked at how I might want to go ahead and put some blending around the outside just to give this image in the middle some depth. Okay, so there's 2. I've got little brushes up here. Here's one with, it's a greenish brown. Maybe if I use a smaller brush, it'll make this part a little easier. Oh yeah, that's easier. This is also, I had a really hard time getting these pieces out of the dies, and had to do a lot of work with the crafting knife. And again, this is the set that once I got done with those Christmas cards, I went ahead and spent the big bucks on a silhouette. I bought a silhouette instead of a Cricut for reasons back in the day. I had a friend who had both machines, and we talked a lot before I bought it, since it was such, at that time, for me was such a major investment. Okay, and since I'm blending, let's, darken my rabbit. Okay. All right. And that's all of that. One, two, three, so I don't lose the rabbit. And this can go in the trash. And then these are my other. I'm going to get out the different cutting board here. And still use the Post-it note idea. Oh, maybe I should have done this off camera. Okay. That's not working very well. Okay, I've got it lined up a little better. See, that's what goes wrong. It slips. I've got more of these. Let me see if I can salvage this one. Yeah, that works. And why aren't you just cutting it with scissors, Barb? And that's because I'm not good at that. The purpose of tools is to do things that maybe we don't do quite as well. And I have seen some people who would have just like picked up their straight line scissors and whisk those things right off of there, and it would have just worked perfectly, but that's not me. Okay, so I have 3 of those now and 3 of these. Looks like I've got a couple more fall cards that I can make. I haven't figured out quite how many I need. I've got 12 done. With 4, that makes 16. And then the next video I'll splice in here. This is as putting several videos together because of the time factor involved is that is the only editing I do. I don't really know how to do the other editing. I use a program called InShot that I just access the free version, at least I am so far, as long as they don't start charging me. Okay, so I have those 3 pieces. I have all my bunnies. I have my birdies. I have my pieces done. I have my other pieces done here. And we'll put those things together when I create the next stretch after lunch. Thanks. You'll see it as one big piece. You won't know the difference. Okay, we stopped the video so I could do some cutting. I'm remembering every time I do it why I don't use this particular die. It really is challenging to get all the pieces out. So let's start putting some of this together. I've cut, I need a little slightly smaller pen to dot the I of the rabbits. Okay, so we decided the last time that it worked better to ink all of this, okay, and then lay the piece on top of it. So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to ink. What is it with me and inking instead of gluing? Okay, so the gluing, that seems to be my consistent mistake. My husband suggested that I put a tag on this bottle that says it's glue. Okay. All right. This isn't really directional, but we'll do that. Okay. Oop, oop, oop. This is why I use that. See, that's why I use wet glue. Had I used double-sided adhesive, there would have been nothing I could have done in that moment without tearing it up. Okay, and then I cut these, which are 4 by 5 1/4. And they go here on the inside. foam folder to crease this. I use my double-sided tweezers to get my birds in place. I flip one of them over. I trim down my happy fall stickers or sentiments for here. Okay, I was gone for quite a while, but you won't see that. You'll just see a slight bump in the tape. I understand now why I stopped using this particular die set. I really had a difficult time getting all the pieces out. So we're going to go ahead and put this together now. We remember from doing the previous one, we decided that it really did work better to put the glue in here. That's my air conditioner kicking on in the background. We're in Southern Illinois and it's September, and we had a stretch with what we call fake fall, where the oppressive summer heat dissipates and we end up with some beautiful fall-like weather, and the leaves start to turn a little bit, and that's over. And we're back to our 100-degree temperatures, which is what we've been getting in the summer. Okay, and then we put that on there. All right, and that provides our background. And we cut the insert pieces. And this would provide a place for me to write, or for me to put the pictures of something that's going on here at our house. Since this is kind of like a similar to the people I send Christmas cards to. I did spring and summer and fall, and then the next one they'll get will be Christmas, obviously. Okay. This fussy bit, it's not fussy really. It's another part of card making. We can make our cards where the emphasis and the design in what we're doing. It's the wrong side of the bird. Emphasis in what we're doing can be the pattern paper or the design. We can embellish with simple things. We can, with die cutting, we can cut out all these tiny pieces and build scenes. And that's one of the big advantages of doing card making, is that we have lots and lots and lots of options. Okay. And then I got a smaller pen than what I had before. Okay. My little rabbit. There's 3. And this is the last one. Again, we're going to put our glue lightly on all of these pieces so that they will stay down in the front. And then around the outside here. I'm just looking, I mean, this is not considered to be directional paper where like this is right side up and this is upside down. But I do kind of try to look at the pattern just to see. Okay, that goes there. This goes on the inside of the card. I think I've got the other card here that I didn't put one of these insets in. When I make the cards I donate, if I use color cardstock like bright green or blue or whatever for the base, which I don't tend to, but if I do that, then I can I put those up a white piece on the inside so that the sentiment can go on there, or so that the person can write on the inside. Okay. And then, yeah, we glue what would otherwise look like the top piece of the bird so that we can have one bird flying in this way and one bird flying towards the center and the other way. And we're going to put just a little bit of glue here so that piece will lie down. I use liquid glue pretty much exclusively. I've got some double-sided adhesive. I don't tend to use it because I tend to need what's referred to as wiggle room, where if you have white, you have the liquid glue, particularly a white one like this that dries clear. If you have to move something, you can do that. Whereas with double-sided adhesive, you pretty much don't have that option. Okay. All right. And then that piece is on the inside. And one of these, yeah, this one needs this. So I have 4. I have 12 in my bin over here. So now I have 16. And last but not least, this is the stamp that my granddaughter designed and gifted to me. It says Random Acts of Kindness Studio. I'm not a business, but she knows how much I appreciate that I have dedicated space in off of my husband's work room that I can that I have set up for my studio. I am very fortunate that way. An awful lot of card makers are working on their dining room tables and then clearing it off in time for the family to eat. So we're working in a closet, or I've seen people do some really amazing things in order to create space to do this in. Okay, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would. It doesn't cost you anything. I think maybe if you haven't like signed up, I guess, in YouTube, I've been out there for so long, I didn't really realize you had to do that. And even that, they don't start like sending you things. It doesn't really put you, it's the same Google account that you use for your Gmail, if that's what you have. Okay. So there was the sketch we were working with. And here are the first batch of cards that I've made with this. I've got a couple of other arch type things, and I'm going to be looking to see what other people do with this over on Freshly Made Sketches. And again, that will be linked below. All of my cards, these will be going out to family, but mostly my cards get donated to Cards for Kindness, so I'll put that link below as well. So thank you for being with me today, and I hope you'll keep checking back, and happy card making.